actually knew Jeff where I previously used to work. I worked for the Economic Development and Chamber in Waterloo Cedar Falls, which is a very close partner to Jeff and his work at Butler Grundy Development. And so just worked on several projects together over the years, mainly Live the Valley, which is a talent attraction initiative to promote our regional area as a place that folks should consider if they're relocating or coming and looking to work. So he asked if we would come and speak on marketing, and Isaac will kind of get into kind of who we are and why we're able to do that. But again, just thank you so much, and on behalf of ourselves and Jeff, we appreciate you being here.
Is Live the Valley where you guys met through there?
It was.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah,
that's a big one. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, thanks for coming. We're just going to be opening a conversation today about digital marketing and the vastness of it, as well as the simplicity side of it as well, and trying to make it bite-sized for us so we could take something today and maybe implement one out of the 100 things we might be talking about today. So just main caveat is just, or I don't even know what caveat means, but keep it simple today. We're going to have ideas, and they're not going to be able to get done today, but we can start with one and take one in these next few weeks. Who are we? We're Integrity Grove. We're a digital marketing agency. We provide social media marketing and web services with an agile approach that drive real results. That sounds all cool and all, but we partner with a variety amount of businesses. We go in there, make content for them, and then post it throughout the month is the main thing we do. Works great. A lot of them don't want to put time toward it, and I don't blame them, so we help them out there. On the other side, we do great websites as well, so if someone needs a website built, they'll come in and go through us. And then we also can do paid advertising campaigns, come in with a budget and be able to run ads toward a specific cause, whether it's an awareness thing or they want to push a deal or something like that. That's something we provide as well.
Mm-hmm. And we've been in business since January 2024, so we'll get into a little bit of the history, but we've been able to help over 60 businesses work on hundreds of projects, ranging from video to web, kind of like Isaac mentioned. So it's been a fun journey.
The 60 number was stretched a little before January, or else that would be a lot of work. But yeah, I'm Isaac Jarnigan. I'm the creative lead, meaning I do like the photo, video side of stuff and able to edit it and create cool things. Wow. I grew up in Lake Panorama. That's where I grew up, hour west of Des Moines. There is a lake. I was a humble class town kid, but I had some fun memories with my higher class lake friends as well. So all good stuff. A lot of ties to this area. I got mom and dad over here. Gary and Chris, mom grew up here in Ackley, so not quite this county, but has a lot of memories here. We got cousins in Butler, a little too distant to me. You could ask her about them though, as well as all that. So it's some mutual people. Yes, 100%. Yeah, we got a lot of years up here. I got less of those years, but all fun stuff. My background, definitely growing up, I was around 10 years old. I watched this man right here, my brother, start playing Xbox. I don't know if your kids are addictly online. I was a kid that was online a lot too, but I was watching him play the games, and he would record himself playing the game, and if he did something cool in the game, he would make a little video about it. And I'm like, oh cool, I want to do that. Well, he said no, because he's using the Xbox. So I did the same thing on the computer. Did that, worked my way up, and started watching people make content, and then start doing my own videos within the computer. Well, my curiosity got the best of me, so I started making stuff on cameras and phones. And then over the years, I dipped into social media, so connecting with people on socials, making an audience. I think by the time I was like 18, I had 50,000 followers on TikTok, just making videos about my computer and what I like to put on it, as well as Iowa videos. So just a mass curiosity of stuff, which eventually brought me into picking up a camera, making photos, taking videos, all that. And eventually going into college. I did a few years at Iowa State, and then by the time of year 2, I had enough photo and video gigs where I kind of had to make a decision. Do I want to do school and kind of formulate an idea of a business, so kind of with my entrepreneurship program, or do I kind of want to take that step and do that stuff that I had the opportunity to do? So I decided to do that. Ran my own for a few years, so worked with businesses with kind of an agenda of what they need per month, and I'm like, hey, I can give that to you at a very personalized level because I am one person. And then did that for a few years. and I was able to connect with Aaron because we're brothers and we talk, a little bit. He had some skills that I was missing out on, so I found him very helpful, and we were able to collaborate on a few projects and then turn it into a business between the two of us. So that's my short story on how I'm here. Now, what's your short story?
Yeah, so I have a more traditional background. He kind of talked about I got into content at a younger age, liked making videos, liked posting content online, seeing how folks would react to it, and then as I kind of got my flow down, my rhythm for creating content, wanting to figure out, okay, why did that piece do so much better? How can I recreate that so that I have growth results moving forward? Didn't make much at the YouTube gig, not enough to keep it going, so I went to school at UNI, which I'm very thankful for, met a lot of great people, had some great classes, learned a lot of great things, and then started working full-time at the Economic Development and Chamber over in Waterloo Cedar Falls, working on that Live the Valley Town Attraction marketing campaign that I mentioned earlier, which is where I got to know Jeff. So making social media content, email content, running advertising, all with the goal of giving people more information about our area, providing them with resources that then they could take and learn more about, consider where they would want to move to within the region. And it was a great companion piece when folks were doing, when they were hiring. So for example, when Lincoln Savings Bank did their big extension of their office in Waterloo, they needed to hire a bunch of development folks. So when they were reaching out to folks, they were sending not only their benefits and information about their company, but also the location and information about the area, because that's half the battle. You want to get them in on the job information and make it make sense on that end, but also, they're paying them really, really well, but also your dollar goes a lot farther here compared to a lot of other communities where folks are living. So that's where I got my start in marketing professionally, and did that for 3.5 years. And then actually it was through hiring an agency for a project that I decided I want to jump into more of an agency environment, work with different types of businesses, solve different types of problems. I thought that was interesting. And then did that for about another 3.5 years or so. And then through that time, I'd kind of been talking with Isaac, kept that conversation going about, or started the conversation of what could this look like if we did this together. I have some of the more digital experience, business experience, where he had kind of that raw creative talent. And by the way, he's selling himself super short. I think we looked at the numbers, and in 2024, your personal social media had like 2.6 million views. Yeah. Just in the content that you were making. So he sells himself pretty short. I'm more the salesman in the stuff that we do, so I don't mind sharing the numbers. But anyways, January 2024, we decided that was the time to start for us. So launched into business and have been having fun ever since. So we've done a couple of these speaking gigs, and we're excited about this one. So yeah, our goal for today is
Before our goal, I want to meet all them too. I mean, they know each other, but I'd like to know them as well. So can we get a name from everybody, where you work, what you do, as well as one marketing question that either we'll answer during the presentation or we can circle back and answer toward the end? If we start with you.
I'm Kim Jennison. I co-own KJ Design with Jess in Clarksville. We are a clothing store boutique. We also do screen printing. As far as question goes, I don't know. I mean,
and that's okay.
We do spend a lot of time on social media because we're Gen X, so we get some of it, but not all of it. Yeah. So I guess maybe broadening.
We're trying.
Right. Maybe broadening, the markets and what really does work and what doesn't. Because we are familiar with, and we don't have nearly as many followers as you. That'd be great, but yeah. So I guess just looking at different ways and just newer things and just trying to learn
expand
more.
our group.
Are you wearing anything you've made? Are you wearing anything that you've printed?
Yes.
I love it.
Oh yeah, we made the hat.
Made the hat. There you go.
They printed this.
Yeah. My very first thing I did in the realm of business was just screen print, not screen print stuff, but and do that. So kind of familiar with that. You guys seem to do better than I did, though. But awesome.
Well, I am Jessica Hyde, the other co-owner of
Yeah.
KJ Design. I think our biggest thing is, again, expanding our business out there and maybe just knowing we use Facebook, we use Instagram, and we use TikTok.
Great.
We're not the greatest at TikTok. If we had to really focus in more, it would probably be that. We try things and it just doesn't seem like it works very well. So we really need to focus in on our TikToks.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things that we're older. So, technology, I mean, we were before MySpace.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, there's not a lot of, so
Yeah.
social networks are great, but we're just not technologically savvy.
And
Yes.
we're happy to learn.
I love it.
We're happy to learn it, we just.
Perfect.
Most aren't, so
Yeah.
that's great.
I'm Renee Hempen, and my husband and I own the Clarksville Lumber Company in Clarksville, and I have a little frame shop, kind of side hustle.
Fun.
And we do Facebook.
Yeah.
We have a little Facebook page. I don't do the Instagram. I'm always afraid I'm gonna look like an idiot and
Right.
post something that's weird. I'd like to learn a little bit more like that platform,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And then I know, this is probably, you guys all know this, I don't, but you know, you can turn your little ads into a reel. You know, and I tried that the other day, I'm not sure where it went. It's out there somewhere. You know, and so I just, you know, so I just.
you want.
Yeah, well, I was gonna preview and make sure, because then you could add music. It's like, oh, I think this music sounds good, but I never got to review it.
Right,
Oh, gosh.
right.
Drive down the road, we'll help you.
Yeah.
What's that?
Drive down the road.
Okay, very good, very good. So anyway.
I'm just proud of you that you tried it. You did
Oh,
good.
gosh, yeah. I don't know. I'm good at pushing buttons, but I don't know if I'm pushing the right one.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I'm Laura Sauls. I work for the conservation for Butler County, and then I also have a bunch of little side things that I do. And
Yeah.
So I have a bunch of different things that I'm involved in. So I'd like to get to know a little bit more tonight about like what the future is with like potential AI products and different things like that, as far as like saving time and energy, and then also like social media probably isn't going anywhere, but I know certain platforms might be lacking, and I tend to see more and more people say, I don't know if I'm going to be on Facebook anymore. What's going to be the next? You know, like I've heard that YouTube is like kind of where it's at, and so just wondering if that's legit, and that was even from a couple years ago already.
Yeah.
Right.
And so now it's like, okay, well, what's next? And
Yeah.
how do you find out what's on the frontier of technology? So
Awesome.
that's where I'm at.
Awesome.
I'm Amy Kramer, we own Pete and Shorty's and Honky Tonk, where the kids come from. It's a music venue, so we have bands booked all the way till next February.
Wow.
Wow.
So we want to reach out farther than 60 miles.
Hi, I'm Chris Becker. My husband and I both have full-time jobs, but we have created kind of a farm business for like fall festivals, hay rides, kids jump houses, and
Oh, awesome.
in October we're going to have a public haunted house.
Awesome.
So I need help making a very scary website with my ticketing and stuff. We went to a trade show down in St. Louis
Oh,
a
wow.
couple months ago, and there's like so many vendors that do this particular thing for a living, and it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know who to trust or
Right.
if I'm gonna get totally gouged on it or what. So I just thought,
Yeah.
Right.
I got a lot of kids that are little brainiacs and IT geeks, so if I could try to figure out something on my own. I do have Facebook, but like she said, I'm leery of that as well. Instagram, and I have a friend in radio, so he's gonna do an ad for me in the fall, so
Yeah.
I just need help.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Annette Whitrock, I work for Butler County Conservation. All of our people are 40 plus, and we're trying to market to people our age, but probably younger. So just how do we make our sites better and do a better job?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
I'm Michelle Randolph. I am the library director in Shell Rock. We're looking at trying to build a new website, our state library website. Everybody hates it. It's not user-friendly. And so we're just looking at trying to build it and so that it's more user-friendly.
Awesome. And kind of our goal with all of these is our information, we wanted to give you a lot of things to consider, a lot of options to keep in mind, some best practices. What I'm really excited about with this group and kind of just the size of it is this can be more of a conversation than us just talking at you. So we'll be going through things, and if you have a question specifically related to websites or social media or ideas, please ask it, because then we can directly tailor it, making it far more valuable than just some general information. So at any point, I don't think we care if you yell something out or raise your hand, however you feel comfortable doing it. We're here for as long as you would like us to be, so we can be talking and engaging in that. So, yeah. Any other thoughts or questions before we start?
No, not at all.
Nothing? No. Nothing from you? Okay.
No.
All right, so just going to start very, very high level. It's going to sound a little bit like a marketing class, and I apologize, but we just start the basics and we go from there. So Marketing 101, the just behind marketing and all of its various tools and things that you can use, levers you can pull. It's all about getting in front of your customers. That's what it's all about, reach and engagement and getting your messaging out there. And the biggest question that we are looking at, you talked about kind of the future of marketing and what we should be thinking about, is how customers find you today. What information are they looking at? Where are they going to find information? What stands out in those different places that they're looking for information? Those are some of the questions that we want to answer. So we have this pretty complex chart here, but it kind of starts to paint a picture of all the tools and options that are out there today, especially when we're thinking about digital marketing. And so something you would learn in marketing class at college would be the marketing funnel. So is everybody kind of familiar with the marketing funnel, what that means? No? Okay. I'm seeing some mixed. So you kind of think of at the top of the funnel, that's the most amount of people that you would reach. So when you're putting out your radio advertisement, say 1,000 people hear it, and of that 1,000, not all 1,000, maybe all 1,000 are interested. That would be great. We would really, really want that. But not all 1,000 of those folks are going to be interested. So only a portion of those are going to take a next step. And so at each level of that funnel, it gets slimmer and slimmer. So maybe they hear the radio ad, and that's the 1,000. Maybe 100 then go hunting for a social media page or a website, and then maybe 5 to 10 of them are the ones that sign up. That's what a traditional marketing funnel looks like. And there's different tools that you can use at different levels of that funnel and where you're engaging with those people. So for example, the top one is awareness. So that's kind of the different advertising tools that you have. There's social media advertising, television advertising, radio advertising, all the different ways that you can pump your messaging out there. And then the next step kind of gets into then when folks are then, after they hear your message or after they find out or are aware that they need your service, maybe they haven't heard of you yet, are you going to be where they're looking? So if they go do a Google search, or if they go looking on a chamber website or trying to find information about your business, first of all, are you there? Are you listed? Are they able to find you? Are they finding your competitor? And then second, if they are able to find you, is the information there helpful enough or motivating enough for them to make a decision? And that's where we start to get into reputation. So example for your lumber company, when somebody's going to be looking at your information online, whether it's the Facebook page or whether it's a website or a Google business page, are there reviews on there? Is there detailed information that's going to make them say, oh wow, yes, this is what I'm looking for. It looks legitimate. I'm ready to take that next step, which would then be that purchase decision. And then at the point of purchase, the idea is that we make it as smooth as possible to work with us. I'm sure you all are very easy to work with. There's been no red flags from me so far that I've seen. You all seem really, really great. And then at the end, there's advocacy, which is kind of after the point of purchase. How do we engage folks to either have them purchase again, engage with us again, or tell other people about us? We'll talk a little bit about that today. But again, and I know this is super marketing class sounding, but it just kind of sets the stage for some of the stuff that we'll talk about. And then the reason why we're talking about some of these things and the reason we're so passionate about digital marketing and online marketing is when somebody finds out they have a need for a service or a product, 97% of them are going to go look online for that. So that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to find your social media page, their website. It just means when they're starting that search for something that they need, they look online. And so just to get into some of the specific things that we'll talk about today, and we can tailor these, so if anybody has any other questions, but we'll talk about social and search advertising. We're going to talk about email marketing. We're going to be talking about organic search, pay-per-click marketing. We're going to be talking about websites a little bit. But is there anything else that people have questions about or anything that stands out? I know this is a little small. We tried to make it as big as possible, but any of these up here that maybe you don't know what they are?
Yeah, search, what's PPC?
Yep, so that's pay-per-click. So on Google, and you'll notice this when you go and search, but say you search, you know, and it depends where you are, like construction companies near me, or I'm trying to think of some sort of online service. If you search for social media scheduling tool, there's always ads for that, but it's somebody paid so that their ad popped up for that specific search. So good question. Any other questions? Okay. Anything I need to add on to?
No, that's great.
Okay. All right, so that's just a short list of some of the options that are out there. So then the question becomes, okay, wow, that's a lot. Where do I start? And we always recommend you start with who your customer is. So if you think about who the average person is that you do business with, and it's hard, sometimes smaller businesses, it feels like, well, we want to do business with everybody. You just have to start somewhere to kind of generalize your audience so that you know, or at least have a starting point of, okay, this is going to help inform the content that we make, or the platforms that we use, or the mediums that we use to get in front of folks. And we recommend looking at it from two perspectives. So there's demographics, you know, so you're trying to, with a conservation, you're trying to engage potentially a younger audience. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Where are those folks spending their time? But also psychographics, you know, what are their values? What are their motivations? How do they want to do business with somebody? You know, for example, if you're working in construction, I'm sure a phone, they want to get on the phone, they want to talk with you, they want to get their answers met now. If your phone number isn't available anywhere on their website and they have to fill out a form or something and wait, and they don't know when you're going to reach out, that's going to cause friction. So it's keeping all of those things in mind at every point along that marketing path as they're learning about you, finding information about you, to make sure that they keep taking that next step and ultimately do business with you. Has anybody done this work before, anything like this? Even if it wasn't formal or official, but just kind of keeping it in mind? You said maybe, kind of? Yeah? Do you want to explain a little bit maybe what that looked like?
I mean, I didn't bring it with me, but I went to a conference and they basically did this on a bar napkin.
Yeah, hey, I think it's great. Do you remember like what maybe some of the highlights were about who some of this information? Excuse me.
I mean, definitely parents
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of our stuff was who we were looking at, so,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, awesome. So then the question becomes, once you kind of figure out who those folks are, have you done this before? Do you target a specific audience with your closing? Is it general?
A lot of times we sit down and exactly what you just had up there. It's like we host events.
Mm-hmm.
So like we're going to host a ladies' night.
Yeah.
So we sat down and we were like, okay, and we ask all these vendors to come in. So we sit down, we're like, who have we had in the past? Who do we want to target? What new do we want to bring in?
Yeah.
So, you know, we have people who do permanent tattooing. We have people who do henna tattooing. We have piercings. So we are looking at our regular customers who tend to be in the 40 to 60 local, you know, age group in small town Clarksville.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we have the bigger events, we're like, what more can we bring to then pull from other locations, pull different age groups? They may not be coming in for us per se, but they might be coming in because they want a full henna tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then they're gonna walk around town and see what else is
Right.
here. And so, yeah, usually when we do especially our events, and we do a lot of events, we really try to look at who we're trying to target, because ultimately they get in our door. And
Mm-hmm.
we just had a couple customers on Saturday. We did a big event Friday night, and they were like, oh, we saw you had Tara and Amanda. We've always wanted to see them. We follow their page.
Yeah.
I didn't know about you, you know? So just always trying to look at,
How we can put ourselves out there.
yeah, our customer base is great, but
Right.
when we have events, like who else can we market to really kind of pull in?
Yeah. Awesome. Absolutely.
I've got one question too.
Yeah.
I don't know while we're doing this. So say for instance, I like to look at the professional details, you know, like on the professional dashboard of Facebook and
Mhm.
things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so say for instance, if you want to have more of a broad, you know, men, women, all ages, you know, demographics, whatever, if you want to increase a certain area, it's like, how do you find them? How do you
Mhm.
get them to engage a little bit more? And so I think that's probably one of the challenges, like one of the pages that I currently help with, it's like heavily women.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to have men in there too.
Yeah. So probably at that point, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, you might lean into some advertising a little bit on the other end, but also, can you share what industry it is or what type of products?
It's just a nonprofit.
A nonprofit, okay.
Yep.
And I will say, okay. I will say too, Facebook does just lean more women heavy anyway, so there always is going to be a little bit of that going on. So yeah, it's thinking about the types of content that's on there might be worth a little bit of advertising to get in front of folks. And then potentially if there's a different platform, you talked about YouTube, which actually does lean more men versus women on YouTube. I don't remember the exact split. But you know, that could be where the conversation would start to go, is how do we become more intentional about this? But that's great you're having those conversations. Awesome. Okay, and so where do we as a business, especially for smaller businesses, we know budgets are not huge and limitless, we all wish that they were, but where do we start, where do we recommend that you start? And again, this is where we're going to kind of continue with some just basic information. Some of you might be doing all of this really well so far, so if there's anything that's jumping out or you're getting inspiration or ideas, please stop us so that we can dive into that further, because that's when it'll be, one, a little bit more interesting for us because we feel like we're really helping you specifically, two, and then two, on your own, you know, you get more value out of it as well. So long story short, we would generally recommend you start with social media.
Yeah, so social media obviously can cost $0. It just really can cost your time, so it's a really easy one to get going. And a lot of people are on social media. Even though one person says, hey, I have a Facebook addiction, I'm going to get off, that doesn't mean everybody. I mean, a lot of people are still on social media, and we're going to look into a graph that kind of shows that here in Iowa here soon. But kind of starting from social, there's two sides of it. There's your organic side, which means the content you make and put out, it's not paid. You can curate an audience or people, or you know, Aunt Jerry's coming in and saying what's up and knows you, and it's all great. Yeah, so just identifying who your audience is and the best platform on that organic side and what you're pushing your content towards. You know, looking at what you're actually posting for that organic side. There's a 3-2-1 rule, which we're going to be talking about, which is really going to talk about some ideas and some different takeaways for what you actually could post on a, you know, an actual basis. You know, really going into breaking down a frequency and a consistency you guys can keep up with in your businesses. And then just creating some graphics and all of that with some simple tools that we can even dive in and show you if there's questions on it. And then there's the paid side of social media. So we're very familiar with like TV advertising of, hey, you have a message or a mission, you're going to post it and put it out. Well, there's a lot of things and options like that on the social media side too. About every social media platform, one of their big money makers is having an ad platform within there, and it's usually internal. So, you know, Meta has their own ads for Facebook and Instagram, and it can be very cost effective, and you can get in there at a fairly cheap rate compared to your traditional TV ad that might run you back a little more. But Aaron's going to talk about a little bit that in the future, so I won't go too much. But yeah, we're just going to start talking about organic here. Which platform is best? A huge question. You know, we have our basic generalizations of Instagram and Facebook can be great for visuals and pictures and looking at it, and then there's some more popularity within those. But stuff like LinkedIn is good for professional networking if you need a job or something. There's those general stereotypes. But really going in, here's our graph we got here. This was made for Iowans, and it's percentage of age groups that use each social media platform. Blue is 18 to 24, that yellow color is 25 to 34, and then that orange one's 35 to 44. Sorry about anybody above that, you're not represented here. But yeah, I mean, you could just see some basic differentiators. A lot of people are on Facebook, 8 out of every 10 people pretty much. But there's some more youth heavy ones. Let's look at Snapchat. Wow, about every young person has a Snapchat. Not as many 35 to 44-year-olds have Snapchat. But as you can see, a large percentage of everybody has a lot of these. So.
And I was just going to show specifically, so what this means with it being blue is 95% of 18 to 24-year-olds have a Snapchat account that they're active on.
Always helps to explain the Y and X and how they're together. My bad.
And then 91% of 25 to 34-year-olds have a Facebook account that they're active on. So we're hearing more conversation about getting off platforms, and we're keeping an eye on that. We just haven't seen it reflected in the numbers quite yet. but definitely keeping an eye on it. And then going back to what you said, something that's always interesting with social media platforms in general is the context around them is always so interesting. Like you talked about TikTok just being difficult. That's like the hardest one for businesses to get on and feel comfortable with.
Right.
It's a tricky one. And then also just what's interesting is it's kind of, what's the word? Like if you do something that just is slightly weird or doesn't make sense, people will go like crazy.
We want to be trending. We
Yes.
want to have that
Because
trending
we want them to
video.
be like, oh my God, did you see those 50-year-old babies?
Yeah.
What do they
Well, maybe there's an angle
There's
there.
got to be something we can do
Filter
that's
to our
trending.
store.
Yeah, maybe there's an angle there. But something we see, especially with social media, and this is kind of wrapped in with some of the recommendations, but depending on where your service area is, how large of a geography you're serving, YouTube might be a great thing if you're okay with doing business with anybody in the US, whereas a service business that might be local to a town or community. YouTube's tough because there isn't really that local audience that naturally is right there, where Facebook has things like you can have events that post to that local counter that folks can find.
Yep.
It's generally location based if you're searching for services or folks. YouTube
groups
Facebook groups, you
are
can join
huge.
local groups. That's a recommendation we have later, spoiler alert.
Do you guys
But-
have good ones around here, like Clarksville Gang or something like that? I don't know. In Ames, it's called Ames People. It's got like 30,000 people and some wild stuff happens in there. But
Well, we actually had our business in the town of Nashua, and that was the citizens of Nashua. And instead of, sharing positive things, it's, a lot of negatives. So I
Right, right.
and I don't know if Butler County as a whole, I know
Yeah.
Clarksville,
Yeah.
there really isn't kind of one of those pages.
yeah.
We did create an Experience Clarksville page.
Yeah.
So, and we kind of spearheaded it at KJ,
Yeah.
and we've invited all the other businesses.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a one general spot for everyone who might be coming to Clarksville,
Right.
experiencing Clarksville, like, hey, where's there to eat? What's there to do? What's, at least, and that for the most part hasn't had spammers or anything.
Fun,
so.
yeah. No, a lot of those bigger ones, especially if they're unmonitored, will turn negative pretty fast. The only way I'm really able to use them in a business utilization sense is I pretend that it's not a promotion, and rather than it's like, hey Isaac, I'm here, I do this, it's kind of fun, happy to be in town. That's the closest I'll ever get to that. Because if you do anything business promotion wise, people ultimately also kind of hate that because they're like, I want to go somewhere and be fun.
Right.
Complain about, this pothole or something.
Right.
Which is what tends to happen. Why is traffic backed up? Well, school got out and that road's not good. I'm sorry. We're working on it. Yeah,
Anybody hear that loud boom? Yeah. Just- I know, the craziest stuff. And it's just interesting that the balance with it. We have seen some great success, but usually it's somebody has to lead or moderate or keep track of that, which not everybody is interested in doing, which I totally understand that. But
For example, one creative way that I did use it is work with a realtor. He was like my first gig ever. She'll like doing community videos about things that are happening in town, and those get reciprocated really well on there. It's like, it's not about her, it's about Ames. There's a little blurb about her if you click on her profile though, But it's just kind of a fun way to really add to the value of one of those groups without making it crummy. But all good stuff.
And are you the only ones on TikTok? Are there any other TikTok folks in here, or at least have an account, have played with it? You have an account for business or just to watch? Just to watch, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, awesome. Well, kudos to you for diving in. It's the Wild West on there.
Yeah. It is.
Is there anything that's surprising about this to folks? Especially with this being Iowa data, I didn't realize how popular it was. I knew most folks had social media, most folks had Facebook, but just to see that, around.
I know a lot of people that are on Snapchat, but I didn't think it was that much.
Yeah, and especially on the younger end.
Snapchat and Facebook.
Yeah, I deleted Snapchat for a time, and then I'm like, wow, I have no friends. It's like everybody's on Snapchat. It's so crazy. I don't actually have no friends, but that's like a lot of ways
And
people.
that's a really easy, I think.
It is.
A lot of people are like a visual.
Yeah.
It's one thing when you're scrolling through,
Yeah.
a Facebook, and a lot of times you get so
Yeah.
many ads, you get,
Right.
or you have to read something
Yeah.
or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
People on Snapchat, it's
Yeah.
a picture, it's a visual, and you just click and boom, it's done.
Yeah.
You go to the next, you swipe. It's just, I think it's a very satisfying way to,
Yeah.
I don't want to say waste time.
Right.
But, we
engage in social media.
Yes.
Right.
There we go.
Yeah.
because we have a Snapchat, and then we have to like filter or go back and forth between our own, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden we'll like log into it and like, oh my gosh, there's like 18 people asked about that shirt that we sold out of last week.
Yes.
That's up.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's the one thing that I think, and I don't know, maybe you talk about it, like when you do have multiple platforms, like how to manage it all?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
you know, pick and
Give enough
choose
time to
or.
which one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have a little bit of that later, so as we get into that, for sure, we can have more conversation about that.
Yeah, main thing with social here is it can be overwhelming. That's the main overwhelming factor, is the main gif of trying to be the best at all of them, which can be overwhelming. My main point is post consistently. My favorite quotes, the only quote I know really, I wish I knew more quotes, but long-term consistency trumps short-term intensity. And that's so true with the social realm of things. It's just about where are we at, what are we posting, can we increase that and keep it consistent? So it's about creating systems around that. But providing value-driven content showcases work, what you guys are doing, you know, who you're providing lumber to, what they do with it, or however that works. I'm not huge into lumber, although my grandpa was. You know, pictures people holding library books. Yeah, we love the library. Stuff like that. Behind the scenes processes, you know, someone getting handed someone, you know, putting the pizza in the oven and what that looks like, you know, things like that. And customer stories of whatever. I wore a shirt, it got a compliment, had a good conversation, it made my day. That's cool
So
stuff.
when you say consistency, do you mean like every single day or 2-3 times during the
Well,
day?
how much do you post right now?
I try at least once a month.
Once a month?
And then if I get new books in, and
Yeah.
because I do the remove the background and
Right.
Yep.
do all
Right.
that fun stuff.
Yep.
So
Post those.
a challenge is from once a month, I'd go probably to once a week. You know what I mean? Just make it sustainable. See if you can get that jump. Really, in small business wise, you can correct me. I think like 3 times a week, super solid.
That's a pretty, if somebody asks, what should I shoot for? If you can master 3 times a week, that's a pretty good for, especially a small local business, that's a pretty good benchmark to go by. Of course, it varies wildly once you start getting specific, but
if you have 3 posts a week mastered, I'd obviously challenge you to do more. But I really, when it comes to people and maybe they have nothing going, I'm like, yeah, if you can get to 3 and get it consistently, that's your probably good number to go. But
Does that include making reels?
yes.
yeah, yeah,
I've done 3 in
that's
my life, and I think they've all bombed. I need help.
Yeah.
no, well, and
Maybe
we'll,
I've done, I don't
But
know.
people are critiquing them. If there's a visual in front of them, they're not like, oh my gosh, Renee, you think that song? No, all of a sudden they're like, oh, Clarksville lumber. I mean, that's the point of it. Is
Yeah.
don't overthink it. You just want to get your business in their face.
and something too, before you get into some of these, maybe can I take this first a little bit from you, even though this is your slide? Is that okay?
All right.
So, short form video. So you said Reels, which each of these social media platforms, a lot of them have their own different spin on what they call short form video. So Facebook and Instagram, it's Reels is what they call it. TikTok, it's just TikToks. I'm trying to think. LinkedIn even has their own short form video. YouTube has shorts is what they call it. So that's what these different things are. It's kind of, because TikTok came out and then everybody wanted to grab onto this trend of everybody's getting on TikTok. They wanted to pull some of that business to themselves. So they came up with these names for these different style of posts that you could choose from. And especially right now, and especially Facebook and Instagram, which are under the same company, they're really pushing the whole Reels thing. And so that's why this topic ideas, we have the short form video underlined, is because when you're talking about organic reach you don't have to pay for, that's the one that the algorithms, and I hate that I hate that word and we're getting into that, but that's the one that these platforms are pushing the most. So you always have the option of posting a photo, you can post a graphic, or you can post a video, and right now they're really pushing the short form video. So if you're wondering, or go ahead.
I was just gonna ask you, I did a little spotlight on the Valspar Color of the Year.
Yeah,
Okay.
awesome.
And so I went online and I copied why it's trending, this certain color. Well, then I thought, I'll just do a reel too, you know?
Yeah.
So did I double dip?
So was it
Did I do one or the other?
was it a video or what
It was a reel.
So what kind of content did you post? A video of yourself talking about it, or what was in the?
Post pictures or what?
Oh,
what
no.
would be your
I don't do that.
Initial post.
Actually, what I did was I had, I took a photograph of, it was called Epic Adventure, it's blue.
Okay.
And then they told me which 2 colors went well with that.
Yeah.
You know, companion colors. So I took a picture of that, I posted that. And then a lot of the pictures, you know, on our Valspar website, you can copy those, and I did that. And it was cool, and I thought, because it had it, you could paint your basement floor, or your garage floor, you could paint an entire room from floor to ceiling, basically in blue. You know, and I thought that was interesting, just to give people different options and different ideas of how to use that blue. You know, but then I think I might, and then I thought, I'll just hit that reel button.
Yeah.
But now maybe I'm like, oh my God, she did another one. Well, this time it's got the moving picture.
Yeah.
No.
You know, so I don't know if that was not a good idea.
But
You
they
know,
go in different ways. Like when you make a post, like I saw your post, okay? Case in point. So if you made a post and you also made a reel, well, somebody saw that reel and didn't see the post, but I saw the post. So you're
so I could
basically,
I'm getting 2 shots at catching people.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
I would say you're,
I mean, I don't want them to think, oh my God, that Clarksville lumber, give it a break, you know?
no.
You know?
Well, and I forget the old saying, but you know, it's kind of like how we think that we look. Like we go around and you look in a mirror and it's like, oh my gosh, that strand of hair, you know, is so bothersome. Whereas somebody else wouldn't even notice. It's just you.
Yeah.
And it's just you. So I feel the same way about that with social media. With what we're talking about and the levels we're talking about, nobody's going to be on there and decide to hate your business because they saw a reel and a post. No, that.
And some people will watch you because they don't like you. But
Yeah.
that helps,
yeah.
but that helps the
Well,
algorithm too.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So then my challenge with you for that would be is next time you have that, I think that's a great topic. That's a great piece of content talking about, hey, this is the color of the year, this is the color we carry, and here's how you can use it. If you'd have somebody do a quick video of you talking about it, you would see the results from it.
Excuse me, no, I didn't catch it.
No, if you would have somebody video you talking about it in 60 seconds or less, holding the can, and if you print out the pictures and you can just show them, you'll see a difference in the engagement on that post.
Okay. I can talk to my husband. My father-in-law would do it.
Oh yeah, anybody, just somebody.
He would
Yep.
like, okay, cut it off. You're too long.
What if she didn't want to have her face on there? She could also just like have the video going and like show images, like have the paint out or have some, you know, the complementary colors.
Or if there's a staff member or anybody, I just, anytime that, because social media is social, it's about people, it's about relationships, and that's why we feel so strongly about social media is you can do any sort of advertising, you know, radio advertising, TV advertising, and you get your message out there. But the relationship for them doesn't start unless they take an action to then engage with your business. For social media, you're getting in front of them, but also inviting them to already kind of join in your little community. So if they can start to see some of the personality behind the business, that's what's really impactful. So that's why we push social media so much and really talk about it, especially for small and local businesses. It can really be a powerful tool. So you wouldn't have to have your face in it. I would recommend having a face in it. And even in advertising, for example, if you get into ads and you can do different versions and iterations to compare how one does, the ones with the faces always do better. Even if it's just a stock photo, people look for faces on social media versus looking for text on a graphic. So, yeah. You did great though. We're always going to challenge you. What's that next step?
I just think, oh my gosh, what did I just do?
No.
I'm so, you know, uneducated when it comes to this social stuff.
No, well, and what's kind of funny, and actually there was even an example, there was an example on this one, you can kind of see it, but oftentimes what's interesting with social media is you can't plan for a post to go viral. There are people that claim that they can. It's really tough and it kind of just happens. There's strategies to help improve the odds, but it's never a guarantee. But like for example, for this West Central Tree Service, who is they take trees down in western Iowa. How many followers did they have before any of their bigger videos? Like
less than 500.
Less than 500?
Yeah.
And so they were just posting, documenting what they were doing, posting images, the before and after, which there's an example here quick, and we'll show that more in a second. But what was it, like an 8-second video of the last portion of the tree that they cut and it fell over? Mm-hmm. But like 8 to 10 seconds?
Yeah.
That video got 137,000 views.
Well, there's been multiple. That's one of the smaller ones. There's one that got over millions. Yeah. Tree falling.
And it's just, sometimes it's the most unplanned, just in the moment, just capturing, like maybe there's a pizza that it just comes out of the oven, but just the right way, and the light hits it just the right way. And that's for whatever reason what catches people's attention and starts that engagement train that then leads it to get lots of views. So, and I'm not saying you're gonna go post 10 videos and one of them is gonna reach 1 million views, but it's just showcasing some of the power that these tools really have, and especially when you're making good and engaging content. I feel like trees falling over is almost a little easier for that viral thing, just because people like watching stuff break and damage. But anyways, it's amazing kind of the power of this, and they didn't spend a dime promoting that video or doing anything, and got a lot of traction and got a lot of followers out of it as well. But yeah. I think I took my quick thing long enough. I think I can give it back to you.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about the rest of these in half the time. Topic ideas, these are just general ideas. There's thousands, millions, they're all out there. Before and afters for like service-based businesses, you can show what happened before your product and what happened, or service, what happened after. Instantly, look at the credibility right there. Not as cool of a kitchen, way cooler of a kitchen. This company did it. Wow, good stuff. I know they're great. It's a really easy post that just goes in someone's eyes and sees, oh, that's a nice looking thing. I'm gonna think about them highly or higher now. Tree service, they just took a photo on the left side of some trees in front of the house, and then
I think we have.
Yeah, we got bigger here. So there's the kitchen, really simple. And then the trees up and the trees down after their big day. Look, it's all cleaned up. They were nice to our yard. Wow, they even stump grinded them as well. All good stuff. So that's a before and after. You could make those without talking to a camera or anything like that, and you don't have to just take boop, boop.
Have you done, just random question, like for example, supplied lumber for a project and then shared what the final project looked like?
Oh gosh, probably 15 years ago, I had a scrapbook, back before all this stuff, and I would do before and after, like, of kitchen ideas and things, know, and I don't even know where the scrapbook is anymore, but that's a great. I wrote that down. That's a great idea.
Love it. Yeah.
And that scrapbook was projects that you helped make happen?
Yeah, we did. Yes.
Oh wow. Okay.
And I turned it into a scrapbook page. You did all the little.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what.
You could even do like once a week. You could do like Throwback Thursday.
I was just gonna say.
Use that.
That is a good idea. That is actually a really good idea.
Well, and I was.
Customer reviews.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, like if you had the person that was their project or something, like some neat way to tie people into it. Yeah.
Right.
I'll show off my house and say, look, the siding came from.
Yeah.
You already got your first one. Yeah. We already set that up.
Yeah. We'll talk later.
Other ideas of staff highlights, just saying, hey, this is my staff member, here's why they came aboard, or you can even have them write the blurb, and it can be really personalized, but that could be good. Or you could have it be reoccurringly of like, oh, this is how the staff does this thing. Well, what's an example for that?
Anniversaries.
Yeah.
Just if you've never done it before, just introducing your staff members, and sometimes we know that can be tough to get folks involved. So if they want to do a video, that's amazing, that's great. If they want to just do a photo, that's great as well. But again, with thinking through that kind of social is social, social is people, those are just automatically going to be really, really great posts and create good engagement. So even though it's not necessarily, hey, come buy, our product or come visit us, it's just, again, keeping you in mind of folks that are following. And especially when you're highlighting staff, they often will share it. So you're kind of borrowing their connections a little bit and kind of organically then expanding your audience without having to pay specifically for it. So.
Right. And these aren't your multiple thousand view ideas. These are your hyper-local ideas, and giving them a glimpse of how can we show them our business as much as possible without them being there. Well, they're going to see your staff and all your processes. So.
And those are even good ideas on like your down post, where like, okay, like Renee hasn't had a single customer and they have no new builds, they have nothing going on. It's like, 2 weeks of absolutely, nothing.
Keep the train going. Keep the
Tell
train
us all
going.
about Bill.
Exactly right.
Well, and sometimes even, what do you do in your downtime? Like, have you cleaned something you haven't cleaned in a while, or just, because you kind of get into showcasing the integrity of your business and the detail that, that goes into the whole experience. So maybe it's not a super cool fancy project, but hey, we're taking care of we're wiping off the trim, I don't know, but something specific just to showcase the passion for the business. So great idea.
Yep. product highlights, take a picture of one of your pizza toppings, all that. Hey, this was made with this part of it is grown from our local garden or something, you know, stuff like that. Stuff that people wouldn't get from just looking at it. Or we hand slice our pepperonis or whatever. I don't know.
Any local partnerships that you can leverage too, if you do have local suppliers or local authors or somebody that would have their own following that you could leverage or spotlight.
Yeah.
Again, it's just an opportunity that they might be willing to share and increase that reach of your post, and then their fans know where to find their stuff and then can take that step.
Tag the vendors showing up to the events you put on.
Oh yeah, and then we have a few people in the store again that are local that when we showcase.
Yeah.
Get your Schmidt honey
Exactly
here.
right. Yeah.
Awesome.
Day in the life, that's kind of a harder one, but I've seen videos pop up of, you know, day in the life of a dude working in Austin, Texas, and everything he does. He wakes up at 8 a.m. and shows like eating breakfast, and at 10 a.m. Goes off to the gym or whatever. You know, what could that look like in your days? Wake up, check email, you know, stuff like that.
Well, even what we do is if we make a t-shirt, that's where we use our TikTok.
Yeah.
We have a lot of TikToks of making t-shirts, but it's like she'll throw a t-shirt on.
Yeah.
And then one of us will screen it, then we'll put it in the machine, and
Yeah.
then we'll pull out of the machine, and there's your t-shirt.
The same sort of concept.
You know, yeah, do the
just
same thing with like a
showing the
pizza,
process,
or
yeah.
you know, if you're getting set up for,
Yeah.
you know, like the kayak night, or
Yeah.
you know, it's like getting everything ready, book thing too. You know,
Yeah.
just a quick little snippet and throw it all together, and
Yeah.
it's a lot
Exactly right.
easy. Just you know,
Yeah.
a few things versus
Yeah.
overthinking, trying to make it bigger.
Yeah. Do you have, when you're doing the shirt TikToks, are you talking during it, or is it the action, or what are you filming and
We
sharing?
usually do the action.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we find some song that might either go with the shirt or whatever, and
Fun.
yeah, and it's just a 30-second. Then we style the shirt at the end, so it's just like, oh, this is how we just made a T-shirt in
Yeah.
8 seconds.
And are you designing all the designs on the shirts? Oh, that's awesome. Do you share, because I'd be curious, like where'd the inspiration come from? And I don't know if that's something you could quickly share when talking or in these videos, but that would be really interesting.
Sometimes it's just other things that we've seen, or like a customer will send stuff. Hey, can you do something like this? Or can you mock something up like this? Or hey, I saw this shirt. Is this something you can recreate?
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
cool.
Yeah, it would be kind of fun to have a backstory to it too, because that's what really gets people in.
Right.
Well, and I think especially with TikTok, where again, it's not the local folks that maybe would know you personally, it starts to open that door a little bit to get a sense of, okay, who they were and why they made this and why it's valuable. I know for Isaac, when he was making clothes, the brand started out as it was mundane, and then it had a line through it. And the idea behind the clothing was, you know, you might have these grand ideas, these dreams you want to follow. You don't want to be mundane. That was kind of the thing, like the mark through it. This, by purchasing this shirt, it's your first step of saying, I'm going to go chase that dream or that mission. And so it became more than just, oh, that was a neat shirt. It's kind of part of a story. So just getting a little bit of the behind the scenes, I think, would be interesting. So, and then you got an email from a lawyer, and there was
Switch my
another
name.
mundane clothing.
But they paid for my domain, so I got some money out of it. So it was like, that's why they came to me. So that was all good. So yeah.
How old were you when you got that
16,
email?
yeah.
Yeah, from a lawyer.
16.
Yeah.
I showed up with this. Yeah. It wasn't that big of a threat. It really wasn't. Now looking back at it, but whatever.
You're learning about copyright law at 16 years old.
It was pretty devastating.
Yeah. No. I showed up to the call talking to these adults crying. I'm not gonna lie. I was just like, come on, guys. Like,
Well, they were trying to be scary on purpose.
right. They
Yeah.
just wanted my website name is what they wanted.
It worked out.
And I gave it to them with a cost because I got it first. Sorry.
Okay.
Q&A videos or photos as business owners or people that help out a business. You get the same question over and over again. You can identify that. I love just like recording with people and asking the question on this side of the camera, and then they just answer it like if someone were to be talking to them. It's great. Bonus points if you put captions on it or something like that, but you don't have to. You could just literally post that straight up.
Which most of the platforms do captions auto anyway. Sometimes you want to double check them because I've seen some goofy things that it'll say on there, but yeah.
How to check out a library book, something like that. Hey, you got your card, or we got this online option or something, I don't know. If you don't have people asking questions, you can look for and generate questions online that, and eventually what's fun about Q&As is you'll have questions that start to populate in the comments. And then there's your content ideas for the next few months. When is this open? When's this feature coming out? I got you, I'll do a video answering it. And there's my post for one of the 3 posts for the week, or one of my posts for the week, or something like that. I love Q&A videos. They're really nice, and they feel very genuine. And then I have in the action, I didn't really know what to call this, but literally just photos of your business happening. Photos of something being printed, photos of pizza being served to customers, photos of
There's a photo op right here with the pizza out and the people here.
Yes.
Talking about serving tonight. And so.
We loved being with this group and loved serving them, and it was a great time, and decided to do the next one or whatever. You know, there's a post right there. All good stuff, so just ambient photos like that. Yeah, here's our post ideas bigger again, don't need to do that. Do you guys want a short form video example that I've done recently? This is a gym one right here. If we click on that, are we connected and all good? This is a gym in Ames.
It was there, hang on.
And Ryan is the trainer there, and I wanted to do a video of him explaining how to do an exercise that commonly is done wrong. This is a value add post, meaning this isn't him asking for anything of anyone, it's just him showing how to do something, but also on the back end, it shows his credibility of, oh, he could explain this really well in a calm manner, and it improves me, and it shows that he's a good trainer, so someone might be interested in something like that. He's also very fit man, a lot of glute.
Well, and I forget how much he lost, like, how much weight did he lose?
I have no idea, but that is a 230-pound muscular man right there.
You sound jealous.
I am. I got into the gym the last few years and looking at him, I'm like, holy moly. Oh, here's the 3-2-1 rule that was in that bullet point earlier. Just like, all right, we see all these ideas, now I'm confused. Like, okay, what are we gonna actually like target here? 3-2-1 rule is 3 value posts of just like, you know, something about your business of like, here's how this is made or stuff like that. 2 community related posts, so stuff where you really target how can I get people to interact with this post, like asking them questions or being involved in that way. And then 1 offer or promo post. So if you got like an offer, feel free to toss it in there every once in a while. Why that's only 1 is we want to avoid that. Often with small businesses, we see, you know, they see billboards and ads and they feel like that's how we want to utilize our social media as well. That's not how social media is best used. And we want to stay away from that. So making our page really about community building and engagement, rather than you're a customer, here's our offer, because that's less fun. You guys know how to be fun, that's not very fun, all that. So that's why that's so low.
And that's what the algorithm looks for, is they want to promote content that's gonna keep people on their platform. That's their whole goal, is Facebook wants people to stay on Facebook and keep using Facebook, so they're gonna promote good content. So that's why we recommend keeping the graphics that say 50% off tonight, we recommend keeping those. You know, obviously every once in a while you can post them, but keeping it more about the business, that relationship content, is then what's going to promote the actual viewership to make using social media worth it. So.
Huge point of social, and something that makes it actually really fun. One of my favorite things about it is just being able to respond to people and all that. Right here, once a week, Aaron and I do a phone update. We switch off each week and we talk about what projects we're working on, you know, what maybe we're excited about or challenges are there or something like that. And we'll just post it once a week or we're here. So in this specific week, that's our page, and that's Aaron not him driving, but a picture of
I wasn't driving and filming at the same time.
Yeah, all that. But he went to Galena, Illinois. And someone that followed us talked about how they love Galena. It's a good spot, and they stay in an awesome spot. And we're able to be like, oh, that's fun. We had a great time. Little conversation we had right there. All great stuff. So not neglecting that and being communicative with the people that do take time to comment on your stuff is a huge process there.
And a little pro tip on that: if somebody does take the time to comment, it's kind of a little hack to respond and then try to get them to comment again, because again, those social media platforms want that engagement. So if you can keep the conversation going a little bit and others start to jump in, that will help your post continue to reach more people.
Aaron did not do that right here, as you can see, but we could have asked, you know, what's your favorite restaurant spot there? He'd probably tell us. And two comments right there.
Yeah, do as I say, not as I do.
But don't do that to be don't do that to be a tool. Like, genuinely be interested probably would be the best way to go about that.
There's nothing better in my mind then when we're scrolling through and we see a post that we did 4 days ago pop back up in our newsfeed.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, that was a post from 4 days ago and people are
Yeah.
still talking on it.
Yes.
Which is still getting that and all the other posts that we've had.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and this just jumped into my mind. You as the page owner can go in and see who's liked your page and invite them to like your page. Do not skip over that. That is one of the greatest ways to encourage people to like. It's right there. It's non-invasive. All they get is a notification, and it just goes away if they're not interested. But make sure you're checking weekly or even monthly, just going through the posts and clicking on the likes list, and then inviting those folks who have liked to like the page. So
That'll be a chore if you ever have something go viral. It'll just be like,
yeah, you're still working on that 150.
But you're totally getting many people sit there all night long for that.
Yeah.
you can only do 99 at a time.
Yes.
No, it's only if it goes crazy, which doesn't happen too much, but that is, yeah. No, it's a fun chore, it really is. All right.
And then you want me to talk about the second one?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm sure none of you have done it because you run your business perfectly. You've never gotten any sort of negative feedback anytime ever. But if one of those negative comments does happen to pop up on a social media post, it was interesting going back to that Live the Valley project that I initially met Jeff working on. How many people live in the communities we're trying to promote that just hate living here? And they just want people to know about it. So every once in a while, you'd have somebody popping up, you'd share some great stat about why it's great to live here. I mean, we live here, like we love. I'm from Cedar Falls, he's in Ames. I don't think we mentioned that.
Yeah.
But we love where we live, and we're happy to support it and proud to advocate for it. But when those comments do pop up, so how we recommend handling them is there's a few different things. So one tool, especially Facebook, that they offer is the ability to hide a comment. And what that means is the person that commented the negative comment will see it as well as their Facebook friends. So the idea is they wouldn't immediately be able to tell that their comment was removed from the public. So that anybody that's not their friend that's looking at the post would not see that comment. But sometimes though, if there's information that's just incorrect or they're upset about something that really doesn't make sense, sometimes it's actually helpful to respond and use it as an opportunity to answer a question or answer a concern. So if, for example, they said, oh, you're closed this day, how could you do that? We really wanted to visit. And it's like, no, I'm sorry, there must have been some wrong information somewhere. We're actually open, we'd be happy to serve you. One, it gives you people a little bit of a sense of what your business is like, what working with you is like, and then also it answers a question. But if there was something overly inappropriate or they used foul language or something, again, you could hide it, but I've 95 times out of 100, and I don't even think I've gotten 100 of these comments over time, but I'll either just comment back publicly or you can send them a message privately and just say, hey, I do appreciate that you took the time to comment. We want feedback, and we want feedback from people that we serve in the public. We just ask that you just remove the language from your post. You can keep your thought on there. We're not asking you to delete the message. Just please remove the language. And every single time I've done that, they've deleted the post and they've not responded to the message. I think people on social media forget they're talking to other people. It's digital, it's easy, you're not face to face with a person. So then by doing that, it's almost like they're reminded like, oh yeah, somebody reads this and it's a person. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. And then I think honestly, they feel a little embarrassed, a little shameful. And it gets removed and then you never hear from them again, which is really great because sometimes those comments can just, especially after you're working really hard and really passionate about your business, you get those comments from somebody who really just doesn't even know. They can be really demotivating. So just know that sometimes it happens and there's ways to handle it that are positive in the end. So
what's your thought on multiple people from the same company, like working on your social media sites that aren't necessarily giving the same message?
Are you talking like you have multiple people responding to comments or you have multiple people commenting negative things?
So there's only a few of us that have access to our social
Oh, sure.
media.
Yeah.
The way some things are answered at times is not the most positive.
Yes. There is a responsibility as the responder to take the high road a little bit, but yeah, and especially if you're managing staff, and I'm not sure what your relationship is with these staff, it just would be worth having an expectation or a standard, or maybe you even have something pre-written that if there is something negative, you always start with this as the response and then you can tweak it to being there. So they might say whatever they like or you might say whatever you like, I don't know. But that's kind of a safe way to at least, or just just pausing, giving it an hour. You know, sometimes it gets your blood boiling a little bit. But does that kind of help answer your question?
Well, the lesser people you have managing, the easier it is to figure out, you know, what's our image here that we want to be.
Or maybe it's one person's job that's
true too. Then you can have the same tone every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott, we love you, we appreciate you. Your job is not responding to Facebook comments. We can't. We can't have that. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
But.
So all good. Yeah.
Yeah, because there is, if that was a concern, I would almost just maybe recommend the policy just be to hide them. If it generally causes more problems with people responding, it depends. But those would be some of the things I would start to look at and wonder. So.
Yeah. Don't neglect your accounts. We're just going to look at some use cases here. Accounts that are inactive or inconsistent poaching, lack engagement, or high quality content. It's just important that this can be a turn off to when people see these pages that they don't post or everything looks bad. It can be a negative point for your business. So we're just going to look at this profile here. Hopefully no one has ties to these guys. We don't think they're in business anymore, so we're good there. But just right here, top left, we have this profile photo. It's slightly pixely, and the logo's cut off. You know, very easily we could shrink that logo and make it look a little nicer and thought out. It's all great. Their last post was in 2021. Well, it's 2025. What have they been doing for 4 years? Just making sure we're consistent.
That's actually exactly 4 years ago, April 14th.
Yeah, we're at exactly.
I just
4
noticed
years.
that.
I'm not a liar. I'm not a liar. Consistency gets rid of this issue, so that's good there.
That's so true too, because how many times have we gone to a Facebook page and it's like, are they even in business anymore?
Exactly.
These posts are really old. Maybe
Exactly.
I won't contact them.
Right.
Exactly
Right.
right. So, and then there's a section where you can get reviews on Facebook, and these guys have 0. So I'm not necessarily picky about that because you can go over to Google and see that. But you know, it would be nice to have a few on there, and we can talk about how to maybe gather some of those reviews here in the future.
So and if this is discussed later on or not.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to segue real quick. When you said the Facebook reviews.
Yeah.
Now, I know if you have a business, you get 800 calls from Google asking to update your Google whatever. And, you know, we've even had people coming in and you could pay to have this 360 picture inside and all of it. And it's just so annoying that you don't, so I know we're talking about social media, but on the larger, you know, we've had a couple people come in and they're like, okay, well, you don't pay Google, you don't do Google, but you are very active. I can find you. Our Facebook page comes up. You know, we tend to, when you Google us, you find us not in Google or by searching. It's just all social media. Is there, I mean, for those people who don't use Facebook, like, how do you know if you should buy into the Google stuff, or does it just automatically kind of happen? Do you see where I'm going?
Yeah, and we talk about that a little bit later
You do?
specifically.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
That's all I needed to know.
Yep.
I know for us, if you ever have any ideas of how to stop those calls or stop those people stopping in, let us know, because I think we could be like millionaires really fast. Just selling a service to just stop that. Like I'd pay $100 a month to never hear from those people. We as a marketing business get that stuff too.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it's very frustrating.
It's actually interactions like that just immediately for people go towards marketing. So it's like a negative point for us when we go to somebody, like if we were to come to you, like, are you one of those Google guys or something like that?
It's so true
You know what I
because
mean?
we'll have people come
It's like actually a negative, no, okay, it's like hard to sell sometimes like that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
it is, because
yeah.
you know, and of course, you know, we are starting from the internet base.
Yes.
So, and you're going to the social media, but
Right.
you know, it wouldn't be here. You couldn't find any of that if it wasn't for Google.
Yes.
Right.
So it's just how do you, how
Right.
and if you separate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that specific thing they're talking to you about later on too.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Staying consistent. Hey, there's social media tools out there where you can scheduling tools rather.
Do you use scheduling tools? You specifically had the question about keeping on all this stuff.
We do sometimes.
We
We schedule a lot of our posts at night just because,
And
you
we
know,
try to
people
do
work during
different
the day.
times of the day
Yeah.
and
Just to see when
you know.
people are actually clicking on
We
it
don't use
to see it.
Meta on the backside of Facebook as much as we probably could, because I'm literally sitting there after supper and I'm like, well, I've got the picture on my phone, I'll just
Yeah.
go ahead and
Right.
just slap it out there quick and not,
Right.
worry about it only being during working hours.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
So social platforms a lot of time will have their own inner free one, which can be really easy. Just like type your post, time, date, and you can post it out, which is really nice. Then there's scheduling tools, Buffer, Social Pilot Plan, Metricool, where you can plug in all of your accounts and post all from one spot, which can be really nice. I'm going to talk, this is a little off topic, but I just want to really break down of like what consistency on social looks like. Here's our main framework for how we make sure these businesses that do not care about their socials, how we keep them going. Week 1, we choose a production day, and so we take 1 to 2 hours and record with them or take photos of things that are happening. There's our content done. We take that second week to make the content, editing the photos if we need to, or making the videos and putting them together if need be, or just making posts. So if you recorded a phone video, be like, all right, that's one of our posts. And then we have a spreadsheet list of the month, what date we want to post it on, what the caption is, and then the piece, is it a photo, is it a video, or is it a graphic? And then you're able to, on that third week, schedule these things all for your month ahead. So you kind of pick a frequency of how many of these you want to make a month, and then you're good for your month ahead. Now, if something happens abruptly, you can post that, and it's great, not going to hurt. But it's a lot easier to post abruptly about things you want to rather than post abruptly so many times a month so that you're keeping up with it. That's why I like to be like, all right, week 1, I'm going to pick a day for an hour when we're slow. I'm going to record stuff or take some photos of stuff. And then that second week, I can really take down and put it into a plan. And then that third week, I can kind of publish it. Or you could do that way faster, too. But that's our framework that we work with and do with businesses that makes it a lot less stressful and keeps that consistency going.
So on that, because you talked about, yes, taking pictures, doing a video, posting graphs, we post consistently. We try to do it at least once a day, if not, a couple of times a day.
Awesome.
But then, so is there we need to mix in a live video, or we need to mix in a video instead of another picture, or an interactive, or, because there's just been a couple of times where we've been consistent, I mean, there probably isn't more than 2 days that we go by that we don't
Awesome,
post.
yeah.
But we'll post something, like we even posted an interactive, like this post, share or tag a friend and share it to win this. And all week, only 4 people. Like that was it. And so we just didn't know, gosh, do we need to make a video and post a video now to break up the content of the post? Is there a rhyme or reason to that you've seen, or was it just crazy and that one just, fell to the wayside?
And yeah, there could be a few things that happened. One, was it like a graphic or an image that you used, and that's what you posted?
I think our event that we were having.
Yeah. So I'd always recommend trying with video then, just because that's what the platforms are liking. But a lot of it, with where the point that you're at with some of this, a lot of it's just going to be trial and error. I remember, this was very early on in my marketing career, I had a video editing background as well. I put together what I thought was the greatest video, and it was called, this was again the Live the Valley project. It was share how you # Live the Valley. So I wanted people to comment why they liked the area, what their favorite things were. So I put together this video, and it looked really cool. It looked like people were typing into Facebook, and then it would zoom into the video of them talking about why they liked it. Anyways, very proud of it. Spent a long time, worked over a weekend to get it done. Posted it, and just for whatever reason, that wasn't what did it. So I was frustrated, feeling a little defeated. And then in about 10 minutes on Canva, I put together a graphic just for an additional post, just to see if I could get it. And for whatever reason, that's the one that did it.
What I've seen do well for giveaways is smiling picture of you two together. You got what you're getting, and then maybe you got a piece of paper of like free merch, read more. Like there you got your faces, you got what you're getting, and you got where you need to go, all in a photo right away. That's been, I did that for coffee shop. I had the bag, and then I had like gift card, and then it had giveaway on it. Like that's all we had there. So that was a good way to get more stuff. But trial and error. But if I were to take on a giveaway, that's exactly what I'd do.
And sometimes, just it depends on what you're giving away, how many folks may or may not be interested in it. So there's just, again, always the trial and error in that too. So, Yeah. But I was just going to make sure with the library, you spend an hour or so getting your post scheduled for the month. I don't know if you spend that hour, if you can take just a couple photos or a picture of a new book and then use a scheduling tool and then just schedule one for a week.
Yep.
Then you're about the same time investment, but then you get a few more posts of the month.
Yeah.
So what scheduling? Just within Facebook scheduling?
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Okay. Just want to make sure I said that, but yeah.
Yep. It just keeps the most time when you guys are just working on your business, and this is as backpedal as possible, because it's very hard to work on your business and actively think about, okay, how can I put extra effort into social, because it gets very draining after a few months. That's where I just talk about consistency over intensity a little bit there.
And I was just going to add, the benefit of sometimes the paid platforms is they'll have metrics on like when people are the most active on some of the different platforms. They'll give you some of that information. So that sometimes is where the value is and what you're paying for. So.
Yeah. Oh, we're good on this slide.
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about paid social media. And what's nice about paid social media is most of the platforms, and I think even all of the common popular social media platforms have their own built-in ad manager. So with Facebook and Instagram, it's Meta. They're owned by that one corporate company. And then what's interesting about them specifically is they have the difference between boosting Facebook posts and then the actual ad manager. Has everybody in here boosted a post on Facebook before? Have you all tried that? No? Okay. No? So what boosting is it's kind of a limited way for you to pay for your post to be put out there, and it's supposed to be simple, easy, and quick. So you give it kind of the location that you want the post to be seen by, some light demographic information, and maybe a little bit of interest. So for construction, maybe it would be a 30-mile radius. You want to pay $25 over the next couple days, and say, if it's mostly men that are calling, that are kind of the project managers or that the ones you generally work with, you can specify that too. And it all would be done in less than 4 or 5 minutes, and then you could be done with it. And generally with boosting, what we would recommend is the posts that are already kind of doing well. Those are the ones that you might look at just boosting and give them a little extra oomph. And then those can kind of sometimes become your best ads, because for whatever reason, folks kind of grabbed onto that content anyway. So we want to get it in front of more people. So this is a recommendation there. And then versus the actual full ad manager, which I wondered about actually showing you what it looked like, but it's pretty in-depth. So if anybody would be curious to see what that looks like afterwards, I'd be happy to show people. But it's a much more in-depth, and you can do a lot more when it comes to targeting and location. You talked about reaching beyond kind of the 60 miles. You can also do demographics. So if there's different bands with different styles, you can target folks that might be interested in certain types of music. Or if a band skews towards a younger audience or an older audience, you can start to get very specific. So you're not just boosting within 60 miles for this event, knowing, half the people that are going to see it aren't even going to care because it's not their style of music or what. You can get specific so each of your events is targeted to the right group. And then what's also interesting within the full ad manager is there's, in addition to just interest, you can target like by income level. You can add layers to it. So if it's mostly females in their 20s that are high income earners, you can filter those and stack them. So it's not going to target all females and then mix in this one. It's going to make sure that they pass all of those filters so that your targeting gets very narrow. So for example, like that Jim and Ames that we showed an example of the video earlier.
Muscular Ryan.
It was people within a 12-mile radius. The reason we did that ad was one of their competitors closed, so we wanted to make sure that their messaging got out pretty quick to respond to that. We didn't want to say, oh wow, we just saw that your gym closed, you should look at ours, but we wanted to make sure our message was in front of them. So we did a radius of 12 miles because that's where their catchment area was most prominently, was folks within kind of a 10 to 15 minute drive distance. It's a little bit more expensive of a gym, so they had to be in the top 50% of income earners in that area. And then they had to have some sort of interest in fitness. So whether that means they follow fitness people or follow gyms, so it kind of qualifies them so that when folks are actually seeing and engaging the ad, it's the most likely people to actually take a step versus just sending it out there to whoever and hoping something happens. So that was...
Yeah.
And then kind of we'll get to that in a sec, but Snapchat has their own ads platform. TikTok has their own ads platform. I put the $50 daily minimum on TikTok. I don't know why they do that, but to advertise on TikTok, you have to spend $50 a day minimum, which for most small businesses, that kind of makes that not doable. So that's why I put that on there, just so you don't go digging into it and then finding that out. Because I remember even as an agency, and where I used to work, and you work for working for large companies that have lots of ad budgets. I mean, that even kind of disqualifies it, because if you're wanting to run something for a month, I mean, that adds up super quickly. X and then Pinterest, of course, they all have their own ad managers. So the benefits of paid social media versus some of the other advertising avenues that are out there, you know, radio, TV, display, any sort of other digital marketing method. It's super cost effective in terms of your ability to actually reach people online. It's very, very cheap. And it's something that you as a business owner really can do yourself, especially when talking about that boosting option. You can start to get the ball rolling if you're interested in dipping into advertising. You don't have to commit to high value, you know, ad relationships that last months. You can just dive in at your own pace. It's highly customizable, so the content is whatever your limit of your imagination is in terms of whether it's a picture, a video, a graphic. You're in complete control of what message is sent out there. And then also getting into that demographic and interest-based targeting, where a lot of other options you're kind of limited. Some of the other advertising options, especially when we're talking about TV, it's just whoever the viewer happens to be, you know, that night, and sometimes you guess based on what type of show it is, you know, what they might be interested in, or what program it is, what they might be interested in. I just believe that it's much more effective to target the individual person when we can, which is when we get into that interest-based advertising and some of those demographics. I think that's far more effective. And then also just with social media, you have a following on there and an audience on there. So it's not just like you're paying for them to see it. I mean, you are paying for them to see it, but a lot of times you're then able to give them a next step to take, whether it's visiting a website or commenting to win something, or you can position your page in front of them that they can follow. They're not just, you know, your exposure to them isn't over once the ad goes away. They have the opportunity to take it a step further right then and there if they're curious. Also, number 4, immediate results. So you don't have to wait a month to get the ad report back on how it did before you would change course. You can see, and especially if you're tracking those metrics after you've started, say, that boosted post or that ad, you within hours can start to see those numbers coming in. There's always a few hours delay. But for example, with that gym ad that we did, there was a video version that we did, then we had a graphic as well. The video was kind of introducing the gym, and the graphic was specifically about the gym discount that we were promoting. But we saw as time went on that the video was performing much, much better in terms of actually getting people to respond in the way that we wanted them to. So we just turned the graphic ad off and then put all of that remaining budget towards that video to keep that going, because that had the smaller or the lower cost per conversion, which is what we wanted. And you're able to see that immediately. And then lastly, ad platforms operate similarly. So if you are savvy and kind of get after it on the advertising end and you want to dip into some other platforms, most of them, even though they're different and branded different, operate very similarly. So once you kind of figure out one, you'll be able to pick up others as well. So what experience with advertising on social media do folks have, or just other advertising in general? I mean, this is what we generally recommend, but if folks are diving into other avenues, I mean, I'd be curious to learn more. And
Well, we haven't really dove into anything different than boosting on our Facebook page, but is there a specific, not a specific dollar amount, but like when we boost, we went back the other day and we were looking at some of the stuff that we had boosted, and was it reaching more people by adding more money, which technically it actually wasn't. When we stayed in like between the $40 and $50 range, it was reaching a lot more people than when we paid $70, which we thought was super odd, because it's supposed to get you further out, and it didn't at all.
Is it that?
Is there a happy medium
Flip the switch,
in there?
look at the draw.
Yeah.
Are you?
I mean,
Are you doing any sort of targeting when you're doing that? Are you allowing Facebook to decide, or?
I usually try to go in and pick, women between 30 and 60, in our area, especially like when we had an event, we were hoping more people would come, but in all reality, if you don't know who we are, your event, you just didn't know enough that, so we do targeting, but it was just really weird, like the clicks and the insight and everything was so much lower than we've had before, so.
Yeah, I know for me personally, just because I don't use the boosted post most of the time. I like to have complete control over what I'm setting up, and especially when money's involved, you want to make sure it's spent.
We've used the ad management
I
very
think,
much.
no, not very often.
So
Okay.
Maybe we
should
need
try
to
that
go
more.
back to that.
Yeah, and
Because
what's
the boost always seems just to be the easiest.
It's
like,
quick.
click
Right
through,
there.
you
Yep, I know.
Okay, adjust this a little bit, boom, how many days, they're gonna reach
Yeah.
this many,
Yeah.
this many days, yeah.
Well, and I know, and this is getting actually kind of increasingly frustrating for me, is when you go through the ad manager, Facebook wants control of how to send out the advertising and put it in front of the right folks, whereas we would recommend making sure that you're the one setting, and there's lots of different things that they'll add, like, do you want us to reach beyond your audience when we feel like we can get you more engagement? And we generally say no. We want to be specific so that as we're trying different things over time, we can say this was apples to apples comparison.
And where do we find that ad management? Is
That's
that
in the
in this,
meta.
it is in the meta?
I can show you, yeah. I thought that might be
I've
something
seen
to
it
bring
before,
up,
but again, like I said, we've never really, and we don't do it a lot. I mean,
No,
we
just
don't
on-
really post a lot or boost or advertise or anything because it does cost money, which
Right.
isn't that much, but a lot of times we go back with the whole, like this post, tag a friend,
Yeah.
share. And if I give them some stuff, a t-shirt that I've had in the back that costs me $10, that's still cheaper advertising, and then I know
Yeah.
it's reaching my market right there because they're having to like,
Right.
share, and tag a friend.
Yeah, and that's where there's just, again, a little bit of that trial and error. Once you get those systems down and the consistency, then you can start to dive into some of those advanced stuff of figuring out the little nuance of your specific business.
What are your
So,
recommendations on ad spend, based on the businesses in this room? Spending money on these?
I mean, for sure, if you've never done it before, try $25. It doesn't take a lot to see, and you're talking hundreds of people that it would get in front of at $25. I mean, you're not talking 10. And then as you go up from there, I mean, it can get pretty impressive pretty quick with how many folks it's reaching. That's another thing personally I like about social media advertising is a lot of other options that you have only report impressions in the advertising results that they give, which, literally if an ad got 100,000 impressions, it could be 100,000 people seeing it one time. It could be one person watching it 100,000 times. Like, that's all that number means, which can be something. But what I like about social media is it actually reports reach, which is the individual number of people that you got in front of, which can be really, really helpful. And then something, I don't know that you'll get into any of this, but if you have an ad going for too long, and you can have what's called ad exhaustion, where people have seen it so many times, it stops becoming effective, you stop seeing it. You can kind of keep tracking that as well. But I'd say if you've never done it, start with $25.
And I do agree, it is the most cost-effective advertising. Like, I know you had talked about doing radio ad, and I remember, we did it a couple of times, because what is his name?
Dwayne Carson.
Dwayne. Yeah, he's
Lovely guy.
He
Yeah, he
is.
is in every month
He's
religiously.
consistent. He
Every
really is.
event, and then you start, getting, and you get the bill, and it's like $250 to $400, and I don't know. We've had people who have asked us to be in the yellow pages. I think the radio, even if nobody really, I don't think in this room can afford to do a TV ad, but the newspaper, those are a lost form of media, just in general. Because I told Dwayne, he kept arguing with me, because he's like, well, how do you stay up on the news, or on, and I'm like, social media, well, how do you check the weather? The weather app. He's like, well, don't you listen? And I said, I don't even listen to the radio. I have Sirius XM. I pay for my radio, because I don't want to listen to the ads.
Yeah.
I don't,
Right.
and I said, so there's just so much money that you put into that, like you said, for $25, you could get 5 times the amount of people that you're wanting to reach for a minimal cost.
Yeah.
For the bigger, for the gym, we said over a few weeks, like no more than what we say was necessary. Like if we did
150 was
more
what we
than,
did
more
for
than
theirs
that,
for
that'd be
2 weeks.
overboard. You know what I mean? So just giving
Yeah.
them that option. So 25 is a good number, and kind of work your way in between those two.
Especially if you're talking hyper-local.
Yes.
Depending on how
Yes.
big your area is. That's what's nice about this too, is if once you've gone through your filters in your audience, in your target area, you're talking, 4,000 or 5,000 people that are potentially you're gonna reach, you don't need to spend as much money because you're already gonna be hitting all of them an appropriate amount of times at the most $200 would be anything.
Yeah.
But you don't need to be like, oh, well, I was spending 1,000 on TV or radio before, then throwing 1,000 at it. You're just going to waste more than half your money. So you can kind of balance advertising as it makes sense. You can scale with how many people you're trying to reach, so which is really nice.
It's fun to be on the radio though, still, you know, nostalgic.
Right?
But, yeah, no,
That's the key word.
but, yeah.
Those people aren't coming in my store.
So when you work for a nonprofit government organization that has no marketing budget,
Yeah, I have a slide for you later. I have a slide for all of that. I got it. Yep. And I'd be
we're on the
curious.
radio every other week.
Well, and is that some sort of trade, or how did you facilitate that?
I don't know how they do it,
Uh-huh.
but
If it's,
it's an hour and a half of driving just to go do it. So
Oh, where do you travel to for that?
Hampton.
Oh, okay.
oh, it's like an actual, oh, that's fun. You just get to talk on it.
And are you being interviewed, or?
Yeah, it's outdoors in North Iowa.
Oh, okay, awesome.
So
Do you
we share
get,
it with Franklin County.
okay, do you get metrics or info about maybe how many people heard it or anything like that? So I'd probably start there just to see, like, because they would have that in like a media deck is what they would call it. Kind of like they should have a slide like this about their average listeners, demographics of listeners, then you could at least start to get a sense of, okay, how many people is this getting in front of? I will say sometimes if the opportunity arises and you can be interviewed, you know, and start to really show your expertise on platforms like that, I always think that's worth it, just because, you know, you never know, first off. And then I would then even say, just to over leverage it a bit, if you're going to go and be interviewed, and especially if you have the headphones on and in front of the microphone, get a picture of yourself, and that's a great social media post, or record a little snippet, and that's a great social media post, so that then you can start to leverage it.
We got a camera right there, which will be a post for people to look back at that can't come, but also we can make this into little clips and post it as well, just from standing and talking like we normally do. I mean, there's just a lot of creative ideas.
Yeah, so that's what I'd probably say. Yeah. I don't know if I have anything else on there.
No?
Expanding beyond social, which gets a little bit into that Google stuff that you were talking about. Okay, so especially for small businesses, and there's unlimited marketing levers that you can pull. You know, you get asked about the pictures, you get asked about Google Ads, all sorts of options. Kind of some of these next ones are just, I'd say, additional things to consider, additional recommendations as small businesses or ones where, you know, with budgets are limited and you want to have an impact. So the first is Google Business Profile, which will have examples of that. But you know, when you search for a business and there's the website listings, but then there's a little pane of information on the right-hand side, that's the Google My Business Profile. Which, have you worked on yours before? Have you edited that before? So you have the ability to edit that and change what it says, make sure it's linked to your website, linked to your social media pages.
And that's free.
And it's free.
Sometimes you will have one already made for you, generated, and you got to take ownership of it.
I think actually there is one.
Correct.
But
I think it's all
we need to go up and look at
Exactly.
and update.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But do you know if you guys
have
have control of that?
I did not know
I
that.
don't know.
when you can claim it, and then
Yes.
what they likely will do
Yeah.
is there's a few forms of verification. They might send you a letter with a code to your actual address, a mailer, and then you would enter that in, which would verify that you own that listing.
Another one was you take a picture of your storefront or something like that. Like that's some of the verification ways.
Yeah.
But that is free. That's not all paid. You can do that on your own. And
Yeah.
So that's something to definitely Google.
Yes, it's pretty simple once you get it connected.
Yes.
And then we'll go into each of these a little bit more specifically too. Email marketing. Does anybody send out emails on behalf of their business or organization? Yeah?
They
Awesome.
all go to spam.
Oh.
Because they're like, oh, we got an email about overdue books. Like, okay.
Oh, so do you,
It's an automated thing.
oh, so it's not any sort of promotion or
No.
marketing or anything like that? Okay. Do you have access to that email list that you could potentially
I think so.
send out little, so like a member list?
Yeah.
Okay. And you send out emails for your work?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, for when, like, I sell Norwex, and that's email marketing.
Oh, yeah.
Email marketing.
Mhm.
And then also, like for this nonprofit that I'm part of, we use email marketing for some of
Okay.
that.
Sick.
Awesome.
So it's a smaller scale, not as many people
Yeah.
for that, but.
But the people that it is sent out to, very intentional. So I
Yeah.
remember a small group of people is still a great group of people to have around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would just encourage, a lot of times when you're doing business, you can collect contact information. Email marketing is pretty intimate, so you definitely, if you are taking advantage of that to promote something, just being very intentional that you're not spamming them, and kind of like the social media post, not just always sending deals and promos, you know, making sure that it's relevant content, it's interesting, it's engaging. Because I know, as somebody who has email and does not like getting spam messages, that I'm very quick to tell if something is something I'm not interested in. So just always keep that in mind. I know we talked about, you know, marketers can sometimes be a bad thing. We're very aware, and I'm very aware as both a marketing person and a consumer, what levels of these things I think is okay and helpful. Like, for example, there's businesses, local businesses in Cedar Falls, like I want to know when it's their 1-year birthday party, like, and I would want to know if that's something I could go to, so that would be a great example of an email or something coming up or some sort of event. But I don't need to know sometimes that your memberships are 50% off, like just randomly, you know, usually something related or tied in. And then the last one is search engine optimization, or SEO. How many people have heard of that before, or familiar with that?
They also will flood your emails with requests as well.
That's another, yeah.
Yeah, like saying we'll help you out with all this.
They're bold.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But anyway, so this, when you're actually Googling a product or service, it's the term that makes up what Google does to actually determine how those results get ranked. And there's tools and tactics that you can use to try and rank higher on that list. So if somebody's searching for paint, where do they buy paint locally, or construction materials locally, Google has information about your business and other businesses that it looks at to then decide, okay, who should I have at the top? Has anybody ever went and looked up like local pizza shop to see if you popped up at the top before? Have you ever tried that, or has anybody tried that before? No. So that might be.
I'll do it right now.
I was gonna say.
Or I forget what town you're located in, but like pizza shop in that town would be another example.
Yeah, I'll say local pizza shop, Parksville, Iowa, Eaton Shorty's, Doc's Restaurant, Mom, Casey's.
Mm-hmm.
This is the 3 places you can buy food trucks.
Small, so.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you get into those larger, or even like there's been times like we know of a company, you know, like Little Babe Boutique, okay? So then we'll click on it and there's 800 of them. And then because again, we're looking, you know, so I get where you're saying with that, because then we have to be like, now which one, where was this one at? Was that one in Texas?
Yeah.
Was that the one, you know, there? And I always wondered how they ranked.
Yep, and I'll talk a little bit about that. It's if you ever get those emails about SEO services, especially if you don't know who the person is, have never heard of the company, I'd recommend just ignoring it, because they promise a lot of things. They promise that first rank immediately, all these things, and it just ends up not being true. But I wanted to explain a little bit behind it, just so maybe you're a little bit more informed if you do receive those messages about what's kind of going on behind the scenes. So Google Business, so this is an example of the Landmark Bistro in Grundy Center. We don't work with them. There's just an example of somebody who had a strong Google My Business profile page. So this is on your phone, which would look a little bit different than what would pop up if you're looking at an actual website. So I just encourage you, if you have your phone or a tablet of some sort, go ahead and look up your business and see what pops up there. But you have control of everything from the name of the business. For example, the Landmark Bistro, you can actually have your menu items on there that you can put in. You can add your own pictures. If you have links that somebody could order pickup or order delivery, you can add those on there. It's highly customizable depending on the type of business that you are. And when you're talking about SEO and concerned about ranking, that's one of the quickest ways to make sure that your business is findable based on the services that you have, is just making sure this little Google My Business profile is updated. And it's something you can absolutely do yourself if you have a little bit of time, you know, probably 20 to 30 minutes, have the ability to take some pictures. And then if you want to continue to beef it up with adding like all the menu items and things like that, you sure can. Your hours are on there, what times you're open. And then the other piece of it that's really, really important that helps make sure that this is findable is if folks leave reviews. So I don't know, did you find yours? Did you look to see if you had yours?
No, we don't. There's just our Facebook page comes up, and then another version of our Facebook page with our picture and everything.
Okay.
And then we scroll down, and the fabric store in town has that.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
That would be really good to have.
Yeah.
And that's why we're just like, okay, note to self, we'll
Yes.
do that this week.
And it's
And then-
free.
And then making sure, especially if you have customers that I'm sure your best customers, you can think of their names specifically, asking them to leave reviews about, why they shop with you, why they enjoy you. Because again, that's what Google's looking for when thinking about who to pop up in those search results. So.
would this be fun to point out? This is where the 360 image would show up too. Is that what they're selling?
When they sell the images,
Gotcha.
it's
You'd be able
part
to-
of this.
You'd be able to click
Yep.
right here, and then you'd be able to see the perimeter. With being budget friendly, I'd just say no, but that is an option.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That.
There you go.
Oh, yours, oh, the 360, okay.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
Something that is important though, if you do dive into this, updating the Google business listing, a lot of there's other websites like Yelp, Microsoft Bing, and I know that they're utilized less than Google. Google's, I believe, used 9 times out of 10 versus some of these other places. It's important to at least I'd say every month at the most, every quarter, maybe at the latest, go ahead and Google your business and just see what pops up and be very specific. Make sure you're not going to find other businesses that might have the same name. Make sure it's yours because you want to make sure if you have a Yelp listing, because sometimes Yelp automatically generates listings based off of Google, that the information is accurate and correct. Addresses, phone numbers, hours is a big one. You just want to go in there and look, and usually in each of those, you can, similar to the Google, you can verify that you're the owner and make edits. Yes?
So we just paid someone to put us on Google.
Yeah.
She could not, I was standing in front of the phone and she called me like 5 times to make that our location. The phone never rang. She said if she tried one more time and it didn't work, Google, we wouldn't be able to try for a year. So I gave her my cell phone.
Yeah.
It worked. So then for the last 3 weeks, anybody that wanted pizza orders was calling me.
Calling you personally.
Gosh, yeah.
Okay.
I called her, she got it switched, but she said she couldn't promise that they wouldn't switch it back.
Do you know what the issue was? I've not heard of that.
It wouldn't find our home. Said like it didn't exist.
So you gave them your location phone number and they went to call it and it just was dead or didn't? Do you
It
use...
didn't even ring. I'm standing right there, we get orders all the time.
Do you use like a special phone service or how is it connected? I know sometimes, so it should be no problem. But do you still receive the calls at your cell phone or has it gotten fixed?
It's fixed for now, but she thinks it'll go back.
Okay.
Were you getting calls for pizza at the restaurant then once they
People
did?
that already knew it.
Oh, so maybe that's odd.
Yeah, I've not heard of that not working unless it was something like, for example, you can sign up and use like a Google Voice number so that you don't have to get a whole separate phone plan. You can have like a separate phone number that's just part of like a $10 a month plan and it's an app on your phone and you can get calls that way. Those sometimes don't work. They want legit phone numbers that are through some sort of official service. So that's why I asked that question. So, well, hopefully that continues. If not, yeah, I'd be curious. Is it somebody that's like a Google employee or just somebody you know that helps set that up? Or okay. Okay.
Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, so just keep an eye on that, and hopefully it sounds like it's going the right direction at least. Did she give you an idea of how long it might work before they'd revert it? Usually they're...
She said it needed to be cleaned up and that was gonna be a lot more money, but I don't know what she means by cleaned up, because we just opened in October.
Okay. I would, if it were me, just because I believe this stuff's pretty easy to work on, I would see if you can just get access to that and go in and switch it. Because if you're the owner and you're signed in and you have access, Google will make... Google will make changes in like 10 minutes. Like it doesn't take weeks for something to update. It's minutes generally, unless it doesn't like something, and it'll let you know pretty quick.
And I
So-
know like the person that was wanting us to do the whole Google thing.
That guy.
Well,
I think it was a guy.
it was a guy, and it was outrageous what they were gonna charge us. And that's, I mean,
I
honestly.
think it was gonna cost us like $1,500
We
or
couldn't,
something.
yeah, we couldn't afford it. We were
yeah.
like, okay, this is
Yeah.
for a small business, and we were just starting, that was in Nashville when we were there. It was just too much, and we were like, okay, we'll just use our free Facebook, and
That's
we'll
what
try and
always
get it
makes
out there,
you
but
leery is
I don't
because
know.
of even issues like that, because.
Yeah, because I'm like, your phone number shouldn't be your cause of your.
No.
That should come in.
This is an easy thing to consider prey on or
Right.
business owners or stuff
Yes.
like that. Let's talk about solutions. She was paying multiple hundred a month to have this stuff updated.
Oh, I got you. Yeah,
And we
a medical
said-
spa in Ames that we worked with.
And
yeah.
we said, how about don't pay that, and you're gonna get, it's fine, great. We'll go in there and do it really quick. but it was, yeah, there's stuff like that. They prey on that with the SEO, with the Google stuff, with the circle image. I'd say 9 times out of 10, your answer probably to those guys should be no, especially if they're coming to you. Now, if that's something you really need help on, go outreach to someone. They'd be of help to you. But yeah, this could be a big money saver.
Yeah, that's something that I personally get pretty passionate about, is I think that some of these folks know that we just aren't familiar with some of these products, we've never used them before, and they make them sound daunting and scary, where really a lot of this stuff, within 15 minutes you could be making changes yourself. And I'm pretty confident that most folks could figure that out. So
I encourage you to make these very sustainable. So like, just do like your basic hours that you usually have, some of your basic menu items that you always have. Don't make it super hard so you always have to switch it again. Like if you're closed for an hour one day because you have to take a photo or something's not working, like don't go and switch it on here because you might forget to switch it back. It makes it hard. Just take the fall, hey, we're closed right now. But
so you said with Yelp, like I use Yelp all the time. Like if I'm taking a road trip and I tend to not Google restaurants. I go into Yelp because that almost even seems more used. And I don't know why, because I think maybe I downloaded an app and it's legit because it's an app.
Okay.
But you go through it, it seems like there's a lot of people. I always try to, post a review, post pictures, because when you're driving through, you don't know what it is, where it is. But does Yelp, so you said, does Yelp work with Google, or you have to go to Yelp itself? Is there a crossover at all?
a little bit. You can't, it's not really one to bet on, but if you get your information on Google My Business and it sits on there for 6 months or so, usually some of these other ones will start to auto pick it up. Yeah. But what I'll notice that they'll do is Yelp will collect some very basic information about you because they want you to go in there and fill it out yourself, and then they're going to say, oh, you should pay for Yelp ads also. So they want you in there. So just be aware of that. Yeah. Yeah, great question. Google, if you just spend time getting that up to date, you're going to get the most bang for your buck in terms of time. So.
And don't go overboard. Just do the basics and leave it and check on it. Make sure it's still good.
Get those reviews though. Get those reviews.
Right.
Email marketing. So why we recommend email marketing for small businesses is, a lot of times, and especially if you're in a local area, you generally know the people that you're doing business with, and you get contact information. It's just another way that you can be in touch with them, and kind of one of the specific, and then the direct communication, not watered down like social media. And what I mean by that is social media organic reach, unless your post is really, really good, really high quality content, it doesn't get shown to all your audience. It used to, and then over time that kind of reduces because they want you to spend money on ads. Whereas email, once you have that email, as long as it's active and open and not spelled incorrectly, you have the ability to be in front of that person. Again, it is an intimate way to communicate, so just being mindful of that. But it's another opportunity to be in front of your audience, and especially if there's something that would be worth sharing and being in touch, it's a good idea. It's also easy and cheap to start. So most platforms, MailerLite is actually a free one. And I forget what the stat is, if you can have 500 contacts for free, or if you can send 5,000 emails a month for free. It's one of those two. So the 5,000 a month, how that would work is, say you had 1,000 contacts, you could email them each 5 times. So you'd send out some sort of email blast 5 times to those 1,000 people. That's how you get to your 5,000 emails a month. But then there's other options, like MailChimp is a good one.
I don't mean to interrupt, but can you pay to have more? Can you keep that app or that program and then pay to be able to have more on it, or is that just?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. So once you hit
I
that,
assume so.
They would love for you to pay.
Right?
Yeah.
But I'm just okay, then I'm like,
well, if
now I
you
go find something else new.
Yeah.
But
no.
and I assumed, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. And the benefits that you get from paying one, you can email more people more times. I'm trying to think of what MailChimp is. I think their basic one is up to 500 people, and then it's like 500 to 1,500 is the next tier of pricing. But sometimes as you bump up, there's different benefits. So something I was going to say about the reviews is after you've worked with somebody or have a service, or I don't know, if do you host tours or something that folks would be signing up to do, or come to events or different things? Sending some sort of follow-up with them, making sure, hey, if you really enjoyed this, follow us on social media. If somebody's new for doing business with you, I don't know how you monitor those lists or that engagement, but after a few days say, hey, we love that you bought this shirt. Would you be willing to leave a review on our page and let us know what you thought about this, or on our Google Business, because that helps. You can start to mix how some of these tools work together, so you can start building and creating a little bit of momentum. And even on social media, you can ask folks, hey, if you're fans of the page and just want to be in the know of what's going on, sign up for our email list. And you'll be in touch. We promise we won't send you anything that's ridiculous. We just want to be in touch when there's exciting news to go on. You can really start to cross-promote some of these things and build up that marketing train that you have.
And you touched on it. I just want to expand on it. Let's say an email service is not working for you anymore. You can export your list into like an Excel and then be able to transport that to another service. That's what we really mean by own your list. You're able to take it even if it's not working for you and switch it to another platform.
I don't think Facebook's going anywhere tomorrow, but if it ever were to just disappear, that audience is just gone. Whereas there's some of these methods that then you can hold on to it. Yep. Yep, absolutely. And then SEO, we really stick to the basics with this just because, again, with a lot of businesses, we see that this is something that gets preyed upon by folks. So how search optimization works is there's two different levels that kind of go together. There's what's called on-page SEO and off-page SEO. On-page SEO means if you have a website, it's whatever your website says about your business. Maybe it talks about your services, it talks about the locations that you serve, maybe it talks about some of the different people. But Google looks at that to then kind of generate a profile about your business and the services that you provide, where you provide them. What keywords are used when you're talking about your services. And then off-page SEO is everything else that talks about your business that's not your website. So for example, if you have a Google My Business page, that's an example of an off-page SEO asset that would be talking about your business. If you're a member of the chamber and they have a listing about your business or an address that just says you're a supporter of the chamber, here's your website, here's your contact information, here's a couple sentences. It looks at that and it starts to build this profile of who this company is, and then it compares it to all the other profiles they have for companies that offer similar things, and then they determine who should rank higher. And it's based on amount of content, how many other places are talking about this place, are there a number of organizations that they're a part of. It's the companies that they deem to have the most credibility or authority for that service or space that then that's how they decide to rank it. And there's a lot that goes into it. That's why we're big fans of getting those reviews, especially on Google My Business, because that's something it heavily looks at to rate how they're going to rank those websites. So
to help gather reviews, just to give some basic, like how do you do that? You could have a little sheet in store with like a QR. There's a QR link, write a review. You could have an email list, and at the footer of your email, their bottom left, no space, but it's there. Hey, if you had a good time with us, write a review. Every 2 months, you could do a Facebook post of like, hey, we loved this review that someone made. We would love more reviews like that. Those are 3 really easy ways where we talk about gathering reviews. That's some ways you can do that.
And I think too, so these Grow with Googles aren't ours, but Jeff talked about, they're super helpful. I think a lot of this stuff that we're talking about related to Google would be inside of these Grow with Google folders. So
yes, yeah.
Be sure to take one of those. He wanted to make sure that you all had those. Yeah, and then something interesting too about SEO, because I kind of nerd out about it a little bit. It's interesting if you've ever searched for your business, so like for example, if we searched Iowa Marketing Agency, there would be a whole number of them that pop up because all of them are aware of how this stuff works and they're all fighting really, really hard to rank for it. But just because you're searching for something, maybe it's pizza near me or something, and you're not popping up, don't necessarily be concerned about that, because just because you might have searched for that specifically, the majority of the audience might not word it that way, because it's all about the wording that matters. And just a very short story, I'll try to keep it short, was when I was learning about SEO, I wanted to create a website because I learned by doing. So I created car detailing Cedar Falls because I had a tool that told me what folks were searching for related to detailing in Cedar Falls, and that was the way that they phrased it. They didn't have it the inverse. What was it, Cedar Falls car detailing? No, I'm trying to remember.
Car detailing, Cedar Falls.
Anyways, the inverse is not the way that they typed it. They had it that specific way was how it was searched for most often. So I said, okay, I'm just going to name the website that, and then the URL was cardetailingcedarfalls.com, and throughout the text I made sure to use that keyword and talked about that my wife and I were doing it. We were from UNI, which is in Cedar Falls, and we work in Cedar Falls. We live in Cedar Falls. Just making sure it was all very related. And not that it was a joke. It was just me learning how to do some of this and seeing what worked. But I threw my phone number on there because I just was curious, and I started getting phone calls like, "Oh, hey, I need my car detailed. What are your prices?" And eventually, I don't like cleaning cars, but my wife actually likes cleaning. So for a summer before we got pregnant, she was cleaning cars, and we had a little car detailing business, just because that's how I was learning about SEO and kind of how it worked and the ins and outs of that. So all that just to say, if you're searching for your business, boutiques near me, or if there's a certain style that you're looking for and you don't pop up, don't necessarily go, oh man, like we're failing at it. It's all very specific on the keywords, and just because you search for something a certain way doesn't mean other people search for it that same way. So it's just kind of interesting how that works, but
I've got a question for you.
yeah.
Once upon a time, I knew that there used to be websites that would show you like current trending words and current trending searches
Yeah.
and things like that. And I can't think of some of the names of some of those websites. Do you have any of those off the top of your head?
Google Trends is a big one. That's pretty high level though. You can start to see, over time what folks are searching for in the valleys and dips of that. What's that Christmas song that always comes around? Is it Mariah Carey that sings it?
All I Want for Christmas is
Yeah, look up that one, because you can see the spike, about November every year. It goes way up and then it goes way back down. And you can track that through time. I would need to find some of the other ones, and there's websites, whether it's blog title generator, or keyword title generator, or keyword generator. You can type in stuff related to your business or service, and it'll give you ideas of things to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. And that's something too, in that Google business profile, if there's specific types of clothing or types of things that folks would search for, include those keywords in it, and make sure that you're kind of being considerate about how folks are searching for stuff. So
Yeah. As for your effort toward this though, I think the main takeaway is the best thing you guys could be doing is just finding a way to garner those reviews, as I kind of talked about.
Yeah.
As actually putting effort in towards making your websites or socials more friendly toward this, it takes months before your effort pays off, and it's hard to measure a little bit.
that's the other thing too, is if you make all the changes and you make your Google My Business profile perfect and you make it tomorrow, it's
Awesome.
gonna take time before that stuff starts to pop up and for that to take effect. That's just the name of the game. If you're interested in quicker results, you can always pay for ads.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the message there.
Yes.
Other marketing considerations, do you need a website? And we don't talk about websites as much in this one. I have another presentation that I'd be happy to show you where we talk a little bit more about websites. So if you have any specific questions, I want to make sure we answer those. But for a lot of small businesses, I think most generally have a website, but sometimes some are on the fence about if they need one or not, or when's the right time. So we just have some of these questions up here, and apologies, this is a lot of text, but that kind of help inform if you should consider a website. So can people easily find information about my business online right now? So that's why we encourage it, monthly, quarterly. Go ahead and search for your business name and just see what's out there. If you're not excited about what's out there, maybe it's time to take a look at having some help with a website, which is the process that you're in. Am I relying heavily on social media for all my online presence? And then in parentheses, what happens if the algorithm changes or the account gets restricted, or Facebook goes away, or one of those tools goes away? A website's also kind of an asset that you more so own, similar to an email list, just a little different. But do customers ask me if I have a website? If yes, that's a good sign. Maybe you should have one if you don't. Do I want to show up? Oh, I'm sorry, this is your slide. I get cruising. Do you want to pick up the second half of the list?
I will read the second half of the list. Do I want to show up on Google when someone searches for what I do? Some of you, the answer is going to be no, but for the ambitious ones, I would say, yeah, you'd probably want that. Do I have a story to tell, testimonials to share, photos to showcase, all stuff you could really do easily with a website that people are looking at. And it gives you full control to present your best self. So I told you my story as best as I could with my words. Well, I could sit and think about that for weeks and type it all out and make it all perfect. Oh, when I was 10, I did this many things and it made me this. Like, it's a good way to really tailor your story better for when someone needs it. And would it help collect leads, inquiries, or online bookings all in one place, giving a spot for people to give you emails and all that, all happen within a website. So those are all things to ask. But some people go without them. So my personal answer would be, I would, in this day and age, it'd be great to have a website. So, yeah.
And just a few things that come to mind when thinking about a website is, especially in today's age, it needs to be mobile optimized. People need to be able to be on their phone and have it look good and easy to navigate, but also keeping it simple. So like, what's the most important action that somebody would need to take? And maybe it's signing into their account to see if they have overdue books or or checking what books are available, keeping the steps very simple and the information simple. I know sometimes it's tempting on websites to say, oh, we need to add this, we need to add this, we need to add this. The goal of a website is to kind of be an additional salesperson for you. Somebody should land on your website, learn more about you, learn more about your content, and it should be enough information that they then decide to take the next step, which is then talking to a person or engaging with a person. You're not trying to answer all of their questions on there, because then what happens is we get distracted, we go down a rabbit hole, sometimes we forget why we got there, or there's been too much time, something else happens that takes our attention away. We want to get them as much information as they need to then take that step to make sure they contact us or reach out, which is what we want that next step to be.
Who has a website here, like for their businesses?
That we actually have access to.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Was that like, or go
At
ahead.
least full control over. We don't have full control over.
Is that like an agency or a builder that has control of that, or?
So Butler County
Okay.
in general has a website
Oh.
that we have slight control. And then mycountyparks.com, which is a statewide behemoth of a website.
Can you like request changes or anything on that,
So
or what's the
we can change
process?
the back end of ours on My County Parks.
Okay.
We've been doing a lot of that lately.
Yeah.
I'm done with it.
Yeah. Would there ever be a need
Travel,
or?
Iowa.
Oh, sure. Okay.
fine.
Would there ever be a need or a thought, just because it sounds like you don't necessarily own any of those? And there's lots of tools and options, like Squarespace is $20 a month, and you can have a website, you know, that you can control and manage. I'm just wondering, rather than relying on others, if maybe just even having something simple might be helpful.
And you might not even be allowed to. Who knows? I mean,
And sometimes there's red tape. Yeah.
that too. Yeah. No. Yeah. No.
Okay. Awesome. Any questions? I know we don't talk about websites as much in this one, but if there's any questions, I'd be happy to dive in.
I have a quick question for you. So you touched on email list.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the only way that I really found that's good to get people's email is have them fill out a Google form
Yeah.
and then create an email list that way. Is there a better way to do that, or is there a way that Facebook can collect emails for you that I just don't know about?
So I know when you're running Facebook ads, you can make lead forms that collect them, but in terms of just a post, because you probably don't want them commenting their email on your post.
Right.
Like it could be something where they message your page, you know, to send their email to, or a Google form is great. It just depends on what tools you have available. That's where like sometimes a website's kind of nice because you can send folks there and they can sign in.
Sign up for a newsletter.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes too, depending on if you sign up for different newsletter services, they'll have built-in tools that folks can sign up and then they automatically get added to your list. You don't have to then go, you know, and make sure they're added, or once a month go add the new folks. Like it'll update right away. So it
They'll
depends
have
on what tool you use.
Yeah, you can make a landing page through those email services. That'd
And
be
you can
really
make them look like your brand, and the URL might be something, you know, like mailerlite.yourbusinessname.com or something. But it'll at least look like it's tied to your business and look legit.
It's been a little bit of a while since I played with the build your own website sort of things, but like Squarespace, for example, you can build and just drag in a form and type what you want them to fill out, and it'll congregate as well. So those website builders, if you're a little bit about it, like you can learn them pretty doable and get them looking well
Yeah.
pretty fast.